Pope Leo XIV ends 1,000 years of tradition. What comes next will change everything. Just hours ago, inside the ancient walls of the Vatican, something happened that no one thought possible. A decision so bold, so unprecedented, that faithful Catholics are whispering the words, the end of tradition. For 1,000 years, the papal apartment stood as a symbol of untouchable power, a fortress of solitude for popes who ruled from their gilded rooms. And yet, Pope Leo XIV walked away from it all, not into secrecy, not into silence, but into a radical act of humility, inviting Augustinian friars, brothers, and even his personal secretary to live with him. The message is loud, the message is clear. The throne of Peter is no longer behind locked doors. It is among the people, and that was only the beginning. In his first 100 days, Pope Leo XIV has already shattered expectations. While some leaders posture and divide, he has chosen unity. While others guard treasures, he has chosen transparency. While the world burns, he dares to launch a Vatican solar farm, calling the Church to heal creation itself. Yet this is not just about policies or programs. It feels like something greater, something ancient, stirring again within the Church. Then came his decree, August 22nd, the Feast of the Queenship of Mary, marked by a day of fasting, a day of prayer, a day where millions across the world bowed their heads together for peace in Ukraine, for peace in the Middle East, for peace in a time when war feels like it will never end. A pope who prays with his people, not above them, who pleads for mercy with tears in his eyes, and yet, behind that humility, there is a fire that is shaking the very foundations of Rome, because whispers now grow louder, that his first journey abroad will not be to Europe, not even to America, but to Lebanon. Lebanon, where Christians and Muslims live side by side, where pain and division run deep, where the soil itself carries the blood of martyrs. And if Pope Leo XIV steps onto that land, what message will he carry? Unity or warning? Renewal or judgment? Some say Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle will walk beside him, the beloved Filipino voice of the Church, a man of tenderness and power. If the two stand together in Lebanon, it may not just be a trip, it may be a sign. The Vatican insists this is a calm papacy, a grounded papacy, a papacy of dialogue. But the people are not blind. They see the breaking of walls, the upending of rituals, the refusal to cling to palaces of marble and gold. They see him stepping closer to the young, to the poor, to the forgotten. They see a pope who ends 1,000 years of tradition, and they ask, what comes next? Because one thing is certain, nothing will ever be the same again. The bells of Rome rang as they always have, but on this day they carried a different sound. The world looked to the Vatican, expecting silence, expecting stability, expecting business as usual. But instead, what they heard was thunder. Not from the skies, but from the throne of Peter itself. Pope Leo XIV had chosen a road no pontiff dared to walk for 1,000 years, and the weight of that decision is shaking the Church to its very core. For centuries, popes lived apart, encircled by marble, guarded by walls, distant from the cries of the faithful. But Leo XIV has broken the gates of custom, opening the papal chambers to friars, to brothers, to simple men of prayer. What does it mean? It means the Pope of Rome is declaring to the world, the Church can no longer hide, no more masks, no more comfort. The bride of Christ must be purified, even if it begins within the very heart of the Vatican itself. And yet, behind this gesture lies something far greater. Because as he kneels before Mary, as he calls the world to fasting and prayer for peace, whispers spread across the corridors of the Curia, Cardinals watch him, some in awe, some in fear, and some in secret rebellion. They know that a papacy of humility also threatens their power. For when light enters the darkness, shadows tremble, and inside those marble halls, the shadows are many. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a voice of compassion, a shepherd from Asia, stands now at the Pope's side. Some call him the bridge between East and West. Others say he carries secrets, not yet revealed. During the Youth Jubilee, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Leo XIV, his words echoing like prophecy. The Church must not fear to suffer, for in suffering comes resurrection. The crowd cheered. But among the princes of the Church, the words cut like a blade because, hidden in the Vatican, factions rise. Some say the papacy has moved too far, too fast. Others say Leo XIV is only preparing the way for a greater storm. And then there are those who whisper of prophecy, of Malachi's list, of Fatima's warning, of visions where popes walk in blood across the ruins of Rome. Could it be? Could this moment mark the beginning of those days? And yet, Pope Leo does not flinch. He announces August 22nd as a day of penance, the feast of the Queenship of Mary, where millions unite in prayer. The faithful see a pope on fire with faith, but the world sees something else. Leaders grow, uneasy. Governments whisper that the Vatican is rising again, not in gold and armies, but in the unstoppable power of prayer. And then the most shocking rumor of all, his first journey abroad. Not to Europe, not to America, but to Lebanon. Lebanon, the fragile land between peace and war, where saints and martyrs left their blood as testimony. If Pope Leo sets foot there, history itself will tremble. Some say he will go with Cardinal, Tagle. Some say he will go alone, but many believe this is no ordinary trip. This is a sign, a warning. A message from heaven that the Church must pass through fire before glory returns, and the people ask, if he has ended 1,000 years of tradition, what will he end next? The answers do not lie in politics, nor in diplomacy, nor even in the Vatican archives. The answers lie in heaven itself, and heaven is speaking through a pope who dares to break the chains of the past. The bride of Christ is being shaken. The cardinals are divided, the faithful are watching, and the world is about to witness something it has not seen in centuries. Because when the Holy Spirit moves, no power of man, no faction, no shadow can stand against it. And when Pope Leo XIV declares change, it is not just change for the Vatican, it is change for the world. And still, the question burns. Is this the dawn of renewal, or the beginning of the final trial? Then came the silence that falls before a storm. Inside the Vatican's marble halls, eyes turned to Pope Leo XIV, some with devotion, others with suspicion, and still others with barely hidden rage. For when a pope breaks 1,000 years of tradition, he does not only stir the faithful, he awakens the enemies hidden within the Church itself. And those enemies are not merely of flesh and blood. The Catholic Church, the bride of Christ, is once again at war. Not an earthly war, not a war of swords and cannons, but a war of spirit, of truth, of light against darkness. And the battleground is not only Rome, it is the very soul of humanity. Behind the walls of the apostolic palace, factions rise like shadows. Some cardinals, draped in scarlet, whisper that Leo XIV is a prophet, chosen for this hour. Others mutter that he is reckless, too humble, too dangerous to their power, and still others, they say nothing. They remain silent, their faces calm, but their silence hides daggers. This is not new. The Church has faced storms before. The blood of martyrs still cries from the Colosseum. The ashes of reformers still whisper through the ages. And yet, this feels different. Because for the first time in centuries, the papacy itself is breaking its own walls, stripping itself bare, and daring to show the world a face of poverty, humility, and fire. And the powers of darkness, they will not stand idle. Rumors swirl of secret meetings behind locked Vatican doors, of cardinals aligning themselves not with Peter, but with politics, with wealth, with powers that despise the cross. Some say there are those who dream of silencing Leo XIV, removing him before his light spreads too far. Others say heaven has shielded him, that his mission has only begun. But one thing is certain, the Vatican is no longer a palace of unity. It has become a battlefield. And in the midst of this battlefield, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle rises. A shepherd with the heart of a child, but the courage of a lion. When he speaks, the faithful weep. When he prays, the silence deepens. He has been called the Asian Francis, the voice of the poor, and yet some fear him. For if Leo XIV walks into the fire, many believe Tagle will follow, and, perhaps one day, lead. Could it be that Providence has joined their paths? Could it be that in this union of Pope and Cardinal, East and West, lies the hidden key to the Church's survival? And then, Lebanon. Why Lebanon? Why now? A land torn, a land divided, a land where Christians cling to the cross while surrounded by storms of hatred and war. If Leo XIV steps onto that soil, it will not be only a papal visit, it will be a message. To the faithful, it will say, do not be afraid. To the enemies of the Church, it will say, the bride of Christ will not be silenced. And to heaven itself, it may say, the time of trial has begun. Can you feel it? The tension, the weight, the trembling of prophecy fulfilled? The signs are converging, the Pope breaking traditions, the cardinals dividing, the nations trembling, the people praying as one. Some call it renewal, others whisper, it is the last purification before glory. But the truth is this, the Church is being shaken, not destroyed, not defeated, shaken, so that what is false may fall and what is true may remain. And in that shaking, the bride of Christ will shine brighter than ever before, and still. Questions remain. Will Pope Leo XIV survive the factions? Will Cardinal Tagle stand at his right hand in unity, or will secret forces tear them apart? Will the visit to Lebanon bring peace or unleash fire? And is this the renewal of the Church, or the first steps into the final trial prophesied at Fatima, where the Holy Father walks through ruins and the blood of martyrs waters the ground? Once more? The Vatican holds its breath. The faithful lift their eyes to heaven. And somewhere in the silence of prayer a voice echoes, behold, I am making all things new, but new beginnings always come with fire. The hour has come. The hour when prophecy feels less like a distant shadow and more like a living fire. The Catholic Church, the bride of Christ, now stands between glory and ruin, between renewal and collapse, between the voice of heaven and the roar of hell. And at the center of it all, Pope Leo XIV. No one thought it possible. No one thought it imaginable. But it has happened. A pope who shattered 1,000 years of tradition. A pope who lives not behind marble doors, but among friars, among brothers, among the people themselves. To the world, it looks like humility. To the faithful, it looks like hope. But to the powers of darkness, it looks like war. Because when the vicar of Christ lowers himself, Satan trembles. And the Vatican, oh, the Vatican, has always been more than marble and gold. It has been the battlefield of the ages where angels and demons contend, where saints shed tears and martyrs shed blood, And now, as the cardinals whisper, as factions gather, as hidden hands plot in silence, the clash of powers begins again. Some cardinals proclaim loyalty to the Holy Father. Others hide behind words of prudence and tradition, but their hearts burn with pride and fear. And still others bow their heads in public, but behind closed doors they sharpen the knives. The church bleeds from within, not from the enemies at her gates, but from the traitors in her courts. And yet, heaven does not sleep. For in the midst of this storm, signs begin to unfold. August 22nd, the Feast of the Queenship of Mary. A day of global fasting and prayer, millions on their knees, children praying rosaries in war-torn fields, old women whispering Ave Maria in crumbling chapels, priests lifting their hands in darkened cathedrals. A world united, even for a moment, in a cry to heaven. And the Pope, this Pope declares it not as a gesture, but as a command, as if he knows. Something greater is coming. And then, the rumors of Lebanon. Why Lebanon? Why risk the fragile land of saints and martyrs? Why now? Some say it is politics. Some say it is diplomacy. But others believe it is prophecy. That Lebanon, the land of cedars, the land praised in Scripture itself, will be the place where the church is tested, where the bride of Christ will be called to suffer once more. And if Pope Leo XIV walks there, if Cardinal Louis Tagle walks with him, then it may not be a visit at all. It may be the sign the faithful have feared, the sign the faithful have awaited, and the whispers grow louder still. The prophecies of Fatima, the third secret. The vision of a bishop dressed in white, walking among ruins, stepping over corpses, kneeling before a cross while the church itself lay in ashes. Could it be? Could it truly be that the vision is no longer a prophecy of tomorrow, but the reality of today? The faithful pray, but the shadows rejoice. For there are those who wish this prophecy to come true, not in God's way, but in their way. There are powers who hunger for collapse, who long for chaos, who dream of a church without Peter, without Christ, without truth. And inside the very walls of the Vatican, these powers plot, hidden, smiling, cloaked in red robes and golden rings, but serving not heaven, serving another master. The spiritual battle is no longer hidden. It is unfolding before our eyes. The bride of Christ is being purified, her garments torn, her body bruised, her heart pierced again. But purification is not defeat. The cross was not defeat. The blood of martyrs was not defeat. Purification is the path to resurrection. And the church, though shaken, though betrayed, though wounded, will rise, and here lies the mystery. Here lies the twist no one expected. For as factions fight, as the world trembles, as Rome itself divides, Pope Leo XIV speaks words no one thought a pope would ever dare to speak. Not words of politics, not words of compromise, but words of fire, words of prophecy, words that sound less like diplomacy and more like the voice of heaven itself. And when those words fall, they will split the church in two. They will shake the faithful to their knees. They will tear away every mask. And they will prove, beyond all doubt, that this is no ordinary time. This is the hour of trial. This is the purification of the bride of Christ. The question now is not if. The question is when. And the answer, maybe sooner than anyone dares to believe. Because the storm is not coming. The storm is already here.